All right, everyone, how's it going? Thank you so much for tuning in tonight to Groove Therapy. Appreciate you all being here. Lots of first timers. Thank you for the follows. Thanks for sticking around. And also, big shout out to the man I have with me tonight, Zach, also known as Rainbow Savage. How's it going, man?
Good man. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. Dude,
Yeah.
thanks for, accepting the invite to be on here and to take time to create a mix and, like I said earlier, great mix. And yeah, just excited to have you here and finally connect.
Yeah, man. I think like we followed each other on Instagram like a while ago. I think it was because I'm friends with Judy,
Yeah, yeah,
and she told me you were going to be at Big Dub. She's like, all my friends are going to be at Big Dub, and that was like 2 years ago, or like
yeah,
not this past year, so I guess a year ago, a Big Dub a year ago, and
yeah.
I followed you, and so yeah, I've been following you and stuff since then. So it's cool to like
Awesome.
actually connect like this.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to play there, and yeah, I remember I met you through Big Dub somehow up until Judy
I
recently mentioned it, and I was like, she's
Yeah, I
like, oh
think I met
yeah,
you because you're with like all the different sweet sounds people, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
met like the name is because I'm on the spot right now. It's going over my head, but I think yeah, we
Is
met
it
at some
Paul?
point, but no, Radium.
Oh yeah, 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 Parker.
Yeah, Parker.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that kid
yeah,
for sure,
yeah. He's a man.
for sure.
So
When
cool.
did when did you start going to Big Dub?
I guess 2021 was my first big dub.
Okay.
Um, and it was awesome. Like Big Dub was. I'm actually like relatively kind of new to the scene.
Hmm.
Um, I'm like entering veteran status now,
Yeah.
but like 2019 Lost Lands, my brother brought me. Like, and I didn't listen to like any stuff. Like, I knew like a couple of like the very popular dubstep songs and like EDM songs that like kind of because like I was in college from like 2010 to 2014, so there was like the whole Avicii and Zed and like that type of like progressive house era.
Yep.
Um, but I didn't like really rave at all, even though my brother was doing it for years, and eventually just like he was trying to get me to go for some time, and he just bought me a ticket, and he's like, "No more excuses, you're coming." And so yeah, Lost Lands 2019 was my first one completely changed my life. And then, COVID happened 6 months later. And
Hmm.
so there was like that huge space. And then, like, I think Big Dub was like my first festival post like quarantine and lockdown and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure. That was a good
So,
one. I think 2021. That was 2 years ago. Yeah, that was my first one too. Yeah, it
oh,
was
sick.
very cool.
Yeah.
Do that bridge, walking
It's,
on over the river.
yeah. Especially when you're in the middle of the night, little zooted going over that bridge. It's can be a little scary, but it's
Yeah,
fun.
without a doubt. I will always stick out
uh,
like in my memories
yeah.
walking over
Yeah.
that for the first time. Well, cool.
So were you just moved to Raleigh?
Yeah, so I was in Ohio. I mean, pretty much my
Okay.
entire life, and then in December I got laid off from my job. Ended up uh, getting paid severance pay, and they already paid for one of my works or my networking certifications. And
Okay.
then I pretty much studied for that cert. Got a good referral from my old manager to a new group I wanted to transfer to within the same company. Got accepted into the new group. In what was that, February? I got the cert. March, I got the new job, and then they gave me a raise and relocation to come down to Raleigh. So I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And it's
Right on,
been,
man.
I actually had interest in it back in like 2011, 2012, whenever I first graduated college, but it just, things didn't align, didn't have the finances to make the move, stuff of that nature. So
Hmm.
finally, yeah, it all, it's weird because like the past 6 months has just been happened so quick with the
Yeah.
transition to job, transition to place. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah,
So you settled one in. Like, what's like the scene like in Raleigh?
pretty good. I actually went to Charlotte a couple weeks ago for a show for Amtrak, which is like a house DJ. And that was pretty cool. It was like easy to get to. Everybody was super welcoming. Had no like issues whatsoever. And then I went to a club called Alchemy in August for my birthday on the
Okay.
17th. It actually happened to be on my birthday. So I went there to go see
I don't-
Sid. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him
Yeah.
at all, but I went to go
Yep.
see him, and one of my coworkers went. And I would say the crowd's a little younger, but I think like us, I don't know how old you are, but I've been around the scene for a little bit. And like
Gotcha.
us bringing, being around the scene and helping passing the torch down is it's kind of cool seeing that next era come in. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like in this funny position because I'm like 31, but I like didn't like really go to my first festival till I was almost 28. Right. So like
mhm.
I'm like new, but also like old. And at first I was like, when I got into the scene, like the week after Lost Lands, the first time I went, was the worst week of my entire life because it just kind of like shattered everything that I knew and like what
Mhm.
was possible, right? And I was like trying to like integrate like what just happened. And like I was in a place in my life where I just like really didn't like where I was at. Um, and I was like, I should have been doing this since I was da, 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 da. But on the, now that I'm like into it, I'm kind of like happy I started late because I'm like, I got all my young and middle 20s bullshit out of the way. And like, I'm smart. I
Mhm.
know how to handle myself. If I would have gotten into it when I was like, 19, 20, who knows? I may have like, done some dumb shit while I was partying, raving too hard. So
Yeah,
um, that's kind
exactly.
of how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, yeah, who knows what mindset you would have been years ago and stuff like that. And it's weird, like when you're having time, like rough times like that, how some things will just pop into your life, like a music festival or an event like that, that really changes things around. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it was I don't know. I have like a very like spiritual connection to like this because like I was in like a really really depressed place in my life.
Hmm.
I was just I went to college, graduated in 2014, had like a business degree, and I was kind of just like going through just the motions. I played a lot of sports growing up, and my dad was a Division 3 coach, and so like just like sports was like kind of everything. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to play football and I'm going to get a business degree. It wasn't. I was just kind of like, I want to play sports and hang out.
Hmm.
And then like didn't really play. I quit football after a year and just like hung out. Just became like a professional hangout person. Like
Well, you
you
played
know,
college football for a year?
Yeah,
Where
small
at?
Division 3 school,
Okay.
Widener.
Okay.
Yeah, super small. I always tell people like I've always been like the same type of energy, just like I've exerted it in different places. So like football, I was like very aggressive, very like at high school, it came out in anger issues. It's just very intense.
Yeah.
Uh, Switched to college, I just became like I was like the party guy. Like I knew everybody on campus and got people to have parties and like was like the dumbass that would like stick my head in the ceiling fan just to make everybody go nuts, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which like, so like
Yeah.
that like intensity. And like now that I have raving, it's like kind of doing that same type of like entertainment, like wearing the whole Rainbow Savage fit and the hat, and it's
Yeah.
just kind of like
The
a
intensity.
much healthier expression of that quality of myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
That's
cool.
very cool. Thanks for sharing that story. It's
Yeah.
cool to see how like how far back it stems.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what I'm guessing, the Rainbow Savage attire and the brand came first before DJing.
Yeah.
Or
So
how did that come to
funny
be,
story.
if you don't mind?
Yeah. So I moved to this town called Phoenixville in January 2020. So it's like I went to Lost Lands. I moved to this town, Phoenixville, which is suburban Philadelphia.
Okay.
Um, COVID happened. And like during COVID, I met my current roommate. He's actually the mayor of the town, Phoenixville,
No way.
and some other friends. And he's a great, great person. Just a huge loving, spirit. He like brought me in and like gave me like friends in Phoenixville and like connected me to people. And like we would be hanging out during COVID when everything was like low key, and I was always talking about like music festivals, because like this is fresh on my mind. Like I've had like
Uh-huh.
a couple months. I had like Lost Lands, Hijinks, and that was it. I had a couple like local shows, but I'm like still very fresh into this.
Hmm.
Um, and I would just like talk about festivals and raving all the time. And I told them this like vision I had of like I want to get like this like rainbow outfit, like with like rainbow fur, like with like like leggings and stuff like that, like just be like real ridiculous. And so for my birthday over COVID, they made me they got it made professionally made the hoodie, the original one I have with the
Hmm.
rainbow like crop top with the hoodie.
Yeah.
um, and then it kind of just went from there. I got before Lost Lands the following year, I went back to the same person that made this, and I had them make the rest of the outfit. So
Hmm.
like the rainbow diaper and the the leggings and the wristband
The whole
stuff, and it
fit.
kind of just like all came together. And I just wore it. And what I say about like Rainbow Savage, like it's me, but it's also not me, because it was like the original hoodie was like gifted to me, and then I wore it, and someone came up to me. He's like, "Oh, you look like Macho Man Randy Savage."
Yeah.
Uh,
That's so
right,
true. Yeah.
right. You look, and I was like, and then like someone else was like more Rainbow Savage, and I was like, that's like the perfect name, right? So
Yeah.
like I didn't come up with it. Like it was all like these things that just like kept happening, right?
Yeah.
And so like just the alter ego originally like of Rainbow Savage became a thing that is now like evolved into like a micro celebrity at festivals. Like Electric Forest this year, man, I've
Yeah.
probably had like, I don't know, close to 100 people probably come up to me and be like, I saw you at whatever past festival or event or something
Yeah.
like that. Right. It's, it's pretty wild. Like I've had like thousands of interactions with people because of this thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's been really cool. Um, and then like the DJ thing. So again, this town, Phoenixville, my other buddy, Doug, he was like, he's like, why don't you, cause I'm like, man, I wish there was like more like EDM shows like in Phoenixville, so I don't have to drive into the city all the time. And he's like, why don't you just like start your own here? And so he kind of like put me in contact with a bar that like agreed to like do an EDM, night, and got a couple people who knew how to DJ, and we set up the first time we did it was last April, so I guess April of 22. Um, I wasn't even going to DJ at first, and the couple of the guys were like, "Why don't you like you know, figure out how to DJ?" And so like a couple of days beforehand, I got like a DDJ 200, which is literally like the only thing I still have to this day.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you
A
know,
pioneer one. Yeah.
um, yeah. And I, put together like a 20-minute set, and I played that night on the first. And so that was the first time I DJ'd. And then it just kind of like kept going from there. We were doing like monthly shows for a while, and it just kept going and going and going, and like brought in more friends to DJ, and now we have like our own little like crew in Philly where we do like shows just like kind of wherever. Like this weekend we're doing my friend lives in a nice apartment building that's right next to the Ben Franklin Bridge in Philadelphia, and
Hmm.
they have like a open rooftop where it's like first come first serve. So we just get up there and rent a speaker system, and we let people come up, and we just like DJ with a view of the city skyline right by the bridge, and it's just like awesome, just like everyone having a good time. And you
That's
know,
sweet, man. That's
yeah.
cool to see how it evolved like that, and everybody just picks up on the vibe, and you find, is that the same venue that you always played at, or was it? You mentioned a few
So
venues, right?
yeah, we've done a
Okay.
few things. So like in Phoenixville, this is like a suburban town of Philly.
Okay.
There's a couple bars that we were doing, and like the first time we did at this place, they were like it was the most money they've ever made in a single night, because they like the place got packed out, and
Hmm.
people were pumped about it. And so every time we did it, we made them tons of money.
Hmm.
Um,
It's a
that kind of
win-win.
like faded away. Like some stuff kind of like went on. Like there was some weird stuff with like unfortunately there was like some people with allegations of one of the resident workers there with sexual harassment stuff that like
Uh.
I'd started not feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
because I'm a social worker and I'm a therapist. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't want to be like immediately like, saying someone's guilty of just because they're accused, but also at the same time, I got to like think about
Yeah.
things. Right. And
Yeah.
like, I'm
And
not in
the
a
environment
position to like make it.
makes a
Yeah.
big difference for sure.
Yeah. So they ended up taking like proper action and stuff like that. But like during that period, we started like going to different venues and stuff like that. And yeah, we're just like having fun with it, just I wasn't trying to like make it like a got to make a bunch of money off of this. Like I really don't
Mm-hmm.
make any money at all. Like kind
Mm-hmm.
of just doing it for fun. And then recently this past April, so yeah, in April, there's this theater in town called the Colonial Theater. And it's super famous because the movie The Blob, it's like a
Oh
1950s
yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
right? So there's a scene where the blob comes out through and everyone runs out of the movie theater. That was filmed in at this theater. So
Oh,
it's
that's
like
dope.
historic for that reason, right? And we were able to, rent out one of the theaters that they have, and we had like a full show with visuals and lights and everything, and it was like awesome. And that was 1 year after we started it, and I was like, just in a year, we went from like this basement bar to like a historic theater.
Yeah.
So
And how
yeah,
often do you usually do shows that got to that point?
um, I would say like right now we're doing like every 2 months.
Nice.
Just like you give
That's a pretty
time
good
people because
pace. Yeah.
you don't want to like oversaturate it because then like
Mm-hmm.
it's hard for everyone to get there and then so it's like it keeps like the scarcity of it. It
Yeah.
keeps it like sexy, and then people like can all like if you let them know in advance, like, hey, this month we're going to be doing it this weekend, and then like people will be able to plan for like, all right, that weekend, you
Yeah.
know. So
Definitely.
yeah,
Because I've been part
yeah,
of like previous scenes where they would have like stuff almost every weekend or the same DJs every month. And it just, you need variety, and you
yeah,
need those downtimes for not only for the people, like you said, to keep it sexy or like keep the hype going, but also for artists to like have time to create new playlists and keep things unique and stuff like that,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. That's the thing I found with like building a set. Like I'm kind of a perfectionist in terms of because like my DJ like technical skills aren't really there yet because I'm kind of so like I try to put a lot of attention into making it sound really clean, like the transitions
Yeah.
really clean, right? And to do an hour set can take 15, 20 hours,
Mm-hmm.
of like listening to music, trying transitions, moving things in and out, you
Mm-hmm.
know, practicing the transitions, at least at this point where I'm at in terms of like my DJ skills. But yeah, like, cause at first we were doing like monthly and I was like, this is too much. Like, I can't keep up. Like, cause I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to like repeat stuff. Like I want to give people new stuff if they're going to come out. Right. So I think like every 2 months is like a good, um, thing for what we're doing right now. And
Yeah.
also like I'm also like trying to like I'm moving to Philadelphia soon, like in the city, so there'll be a lot more like going on. Also, I'm not possessive over this at all, like
Mm-hmm.
whatever this is. So like we're trying to like bring in other people who want to DJ. Like, hey, like give it a shot. And like that way, like, hey, I don't have to DJ every single time, but like we can open up the floor for other people who want to DJ and like put out their art and stuff like that. So like that's how I'm kind of looking at it.
Yeah, that's great. And
Yeah,
that's one of the ways, if not, I feel like the best way to make the scene get bigger and more expansive. So that's very
absolutely,
cool. Very
absolutely.
cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I'm gonna read up on chat real quick. I did see some people chatting while we were talking, just to see what they had to say
Yeah.
while we were discussing. Monica said, "Hey, Vinci Poo sucks." Oh, where's Rondre asked, "Where's Big Dub?" It's in middle of nowhere in PA. Yeah, like when I was in
Ron,
Ohio, it was about a 4 hour drive.
it's like just above the like Maryland border, 2 hours south of Pittsburgh.
That's right, because I remember
Yeah,
like driving through Maryland and then going back into PA.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
there's always that. I don't know if you drove past that like random church on the way in. Maybe it was just from the way that
Maybe.
I was coming in, but we always stopped at a random church before we went in.
Gotcha. Yeah, I always like remember like you hit this point where I'm just like losing all service, and
Hmm.
I'm just like hitting these like back roads, and then like all of a sudden it's just like it's literally like people talk about being in the middle of nowhere. Like Big Dub is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't even have like an official sign. It's like this, like,
It's like a cardboard. It's
yeah.
just like Big Dub here. Like
Yeah.
hilarious.
Who drove past it so many times in 2021? They were like, this is really it.
Oh yeah, that's the same team here. I was like, I feel like I'm like, is this someone's like driveway? And like
Yeah.
they're pulling down into.
For
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
Yeah.
What else? What else we got? Roger said, let's go. Relocation. That's so dope. Thank you. I appreciate it. Beep boop Bianca. I was just at Charlotte. So dope. Nice. What were you there for, by the way? I'd love to know. Charlotte is pretty cool.
My buddy Theo is a big house head, and he lives in Charlotte. So if you're ever looking for
Ah,
someone to hit the house clubs with, let me know. I'll hook you up. He's the
yeah,
man.
definitely,
Yeah,
without a doubt. I'm
yeah.
always down. It was only like a 2.5 hour drive. It was easy to get in the city. No, not many people on the highway, so I'm definitely
Mhm.
down for that drive. Jalen, when your friends connect together, is that you, Judy? I'm guessing it
Yes,
is.
it is.
Okay, awesome. Good to see you, Judy. Thanks for tuning in. Every damn time, Rave Savage is a little celebrity, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I have friends who know him from Los Angeles. We moved from the basement to the rooftop. Better view. That's awesome. Bigot was just literally 2013. Bigot was just literally Big Dub was just literally a table and a DJ. I can
Yeah, I'm sure
imagine.
it was. I'm sure it was like real, real Wookie.
Yeah, that is Judy. Awesome. Good to see you. So what brought you out to PA? Have you always lived out in that area?
So I'm originally from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, which is like South Central PA.
Okay.
Um, and my mom's from Philadelphia area.
Hmm.
My dad's from New York City. Um, it was, I wanted to play college football when I was 18 years old, and I wanted to get the hell out of South Central PA.
Hmm.
And like, I'm an incredibly blessed human being. My parents worked for a college, so there was a network of colleges where they had this thing called, one of their benefits was called tuition exchange.
Hmm.
And so Widener was one of the schools on the list. And I got free tuition and free board. So I had free
Wow.
living and free tuition to go to college for 4 years. And, like I wanted to play football. I wanted to go to a, populated area and not in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, well, I'm not going to, because like what Widener were like, most schools offered the tuition. Widener offered the tuition and the free room. And I was like, I can't turn down a full ride to college.
Literally, yeah.
So it marked enough boxes, and was incredibly fortunate to be able to like do that. And I kind of, that's how I jumped to the Philly area, and just made a lot of friends while I was in college, and it just caused me to like stay in the greater Philly area since then.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And I'm glad
So,
you got out of like your hometown too. I feel like now that I'm finally out of where I'm at, like I'm so glad it happened, and it just it just is lets you find yourself in a sense. Like as cheesy as it sounds, like you're able to find a community of your own people doing what you want to do. I got to disconnect from a lot of like childhood friends, not like disconnect, but you kind of just get to create your own space to redefine yourself, you know?
yeah, totally,
So,
totally, absolutely. And I try to like keep a view on it of like it's hard to move away from your hometown, especially if you don't have like the economic ability to do so. Like I
mhm.
had the ability to be economically mobile, right? I was able to relocate, and and that's because of the one, the college thing with my parents, and two, my mom has a ton of family out here. So post college, I was able to move in with a aunt for a short amount of time to be able to figure out what I was going to do next, right? So I
Mhm.
was able to like have that free time and that buffer time to figure myself out and settle. And I've lived with family like multiple times in the Philly area, like during my like 20s. So like I'm super lucky to be able to have that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but like yeah, getting out of your hometown is, I think it's a really like important experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because yeah, like if you just caught up in the same routine, same people, especially when you like, it's hard to get away from a certain identity that you have, right? Even if like identity has been like you're way beyond that, you
Mm-hmm.
know, if you're still with these people that you've always been with, you know, they're still holding that view of, they have you like they know you from freshman year of high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, stuff like that's like hard to escape from. So
Yep. Like,
yeah.
who knows? If you had never moved away, maybe Rainbow Savage would have been born. You know, would
Dude,
have.
one of I can come to Phoenixville, you know, like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, that's the type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then going back to being in Philly, is hijinks worth it? Like, is it worth going to? Or
Okay. So here's what I'll
because
say.
I heard mixed things.
All right. So here's what I'll say.
Okay.
Indoor festivals are indoor festivals. They're not
Yes.
outdoor festivals,
Yes.
right? In terms of simplistic, in terms of like, there's no conflicts. It's just one lineup that just goes straight through. So you can just like find a spot and just be there. So it's not, I wouldn't call it a festival. I would just call it a show, right? It's a big show,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But the acoustics in the Philadelphia Convention Center are like nothing else that I've like. The hijinks acoustics are are crazy.
Nice.
They go crazy. Yeah. Like in
Okay.
terms of like getting in the zone, like sometimes I just like sit there when like I remember like during Res last year, just like the boom, 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 boom. I'm like, oh my God. And Skrillex, the greatest set of all time was Skrillex 2019 at Hijinks. To this day, greatest set of all time. It was like unbelievable. Everyone there will tell you Skrillex 2019 Hijinks.
It was fire. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And also shout out to Monica here. You can't beat sleeping in your own bed if you live in Philly. Like
Yeah.
it's a no.
Yeah.
I understand like if you have to travel from out of town, maybe not, but like we're like here in Philly, like it's in our backyard. Like we're not gonna
Yeah.
not go. And the lineup is always crazy.
Yeah.
Always a crazy lineup. So
That's the thing that always drove me in. Like, I almost went once, and I forget why I didn't. I think I almost got scalped. That's why I was like, you know what? I almost got scalped. I don't think it's in the cards for me to go this year, and I just ended up not going. And I think
mhm.
I forget what year I was considering going. I think it was like 2018. But yeah, I was so tempted. Like, the lineup was crazy good. It looked great, and yeah, I mean, if I fly in one year for it, I wouldn't mind because I have some friends who live out there, so
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'll keep that in mind. Um, so getting back into DJing a little bit, uh, where was your first show that you had, or what was it? Do you
Yeah.
remember
The one I went to or one I DJ'd?
when you DJ'd?
It was it's actually a bar that's right next to my house. That was
Oh,
that
that
night
was the
where
one.
I just learned a couple days beforehand.
That was the first one.
Yeah, that was
That's
my first
cool.
one.
That's sweet.
Yeah,
You had the
it was awesome.
200s when you did that? The DJ?
Yeah, we plugged it in with they had to get an adapter to run it out of the audio jack, the headphone jack out of my laptop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I just did it from the little board there. Yeah, yeah, it
That's
was funny.
amazing. It's fun. Yeah, it's great seeing like the beginner equipment and then Evolve be like, all right, a new
Yeah,
upgrade for
I
you.
have quickly outgrown this board, but I want to properly invest in something, right? And so I'm being patient with dropping a couple $1,000s on like
Mm-hmm.
some stuff because it's a big investment. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready for the big boy, but I just got to make sure to buy the right one.
Yeah, yeah. The
Yeah.
one that'll fit what you're trying to do for sure,
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Um, what are some of your current favorite like tracks that you're digging to, or how do you dig for your music?
Um, couple ways. Sometimes I'll just like find like a song that I'm like, that song's cool. And I'll go to SoundCloud and just search that song and then let the like algorithm do its thing. Like I'll scroll
Mm-hmm.
next and I'll just like listen through it because it tries to like at least give you like songs that are in that realm. And I kind of just go through there and just keep listening, keep listening. I try to find, I'll look on Spotify, like specific genre playlist. And I'll look for, I try to do like user playlists, not like Spotify
Mm-hmm.
made playlist to tell you like, what are the fans listening to, right? Like what are people that
Yep.
are real fans like listening to right now? And I just like, keep listening and what would I dance to? And I kind of just like pick that.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I think going through like SoundCloud is a big help. SoundCloud and Spotify really changed the game with digging through stuff.
Yeah.
And finding playlists, and even artist radios sometimes help, or like user radios. Like sometimes if I'm digging through a user playlist or like an artist playlist, then I'll be like, okay, if I ran out of their tracks or what they listen to, let's just put on the radio and see what happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works good for SoundCloud. I feel like Spotify is a little bit better, but it's a good alternative as well.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Sure.
And then
But yeah, Avery
going
said
back.
Feel Good Inc. by Heritage is my favorite song. That is.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
think Heritage in terms of like producers is I think he's top tier in terms of like he does like hybrid trap dubstep type of beats.
Okay. I'll
Have
have
you
to add
heard
him.
the Feel Good Inc.? Like everyone's been playing it.
No. I'm more
Oh,
of a house head, so I might not
okay.
have, but I'll
All right.
definitely add it to the list. I definitely
Yeah.
dive out of the realm once in a while because I need some I need to switch up. So I'll definitely add it to the list. Judy said you'll
Yeah.
definitely need earplugs for those acoustics. It wasn't a bad fest. Nice. So going to Electric
Yeah.
Forest, you went this year, right?
Yeah. I went this year.
How often have you gone?
That was my first forest.
This year was your first?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. What a first fest for you.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It's totally different than anything else.
Yeah.
Totally different than any festivals.
Yeah.
Um, just like I think like the fact that they only have one stage that plays music like straight through, like artist. The other ones have like gaps in between their sets. Like that
Hmm.
forces people to like move around and walk through the forest and like do other things. Like I think that's like a super cool element to uh, forest that I haven't experienced at any other festivals.
I didn't even really put that together. But yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Because there's always like 15, 20 minutes in between. And then you're like, all right, well, I'll go to walk through the forest or go check out this set. Or like
Yeah.
you said, you get some time to explore in like the hangar or yeah, hammocks or any of those like structures that they have. That's so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because usually, like, I'm like at Lost Lands, um, that's like, sprinting a marathon. It's just intense the whole time. Like, there's a lot to do in terms of like stages to go to, but there's
Hmm.
always music playing at every stage, like all day long.
Hmm.
Right. So, like, I'll get like a little bit of anxiety of sometimes be like, which set do I want to take a break during? Right. And like having to like make that choice.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's like I kind of feel that at Lost Lands. That like at Forest, I didn't feel that as much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Felt more paced out.
yeah, feels paced out, and I'm also getting into the point of like veteran status of festivals where not seeing an artist that I want to see isn't the end of the world, right?
Hmm.
So I'm like, if I can't see that set, I can't see that set. I need to go eat or take care of myself, right? Because
Yep.
it's a long 4 or 5 days, however long you're there.
Yep.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah,
That's so true. Like, there's so many that you're like, oh man, I wish I was there, but it's all good. Like, I'll see
yeah,
him in a different festival, or I'll see him
yeah,
in a different show.
yeah,
There's so many opportunities nowadays.
yeah, for
So
sure.
Who was some of your favorites from Forest?
Um, Dr. Fresh was super fun.
That was a good one.
Um,
I forget who played before him, but I stuck around
yeah, it was
after the
like
set. Dr.
Dr.
Fresh.
Fresh. Zed's Dead was cool.
Yes.
Their set was cool. Apache.
The live brass
Uh,
ensemble.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool. I really like heavy trap. So like ISO. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like like that was like super fun. Um, yeah, those are like the ones that like kind of like stick out for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Forest was more of like an experience festival for me than more so like like the set, right? Um, I felt like I was like more in like playful mode of like playing around with my friends. Like, and so like if the vibes were good with my friends during that set, I was like, all right, that set, even though I may have been not musically paying attention as much, if like the vibes were good with my friends, it was like,
Yep.
all right, that was the set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's how I felt about that night that ZZ played. Because like I came to ZZ from um who was it? Chris Lorenzo. He was at Tripoli. And
Yeah.
I was like, all right, like halfway through, I was like, all right, I need to make my way through the woods. And I like stopped at main stage at the ranch and Zed threw on some heavy drum and bass. I was like, what is like who is this? And then I looked at the
Yeah.
schedule, I was like, oh, it Zed's dead. So I ended up staying there for quite a while and then eventually made my way through. But like you said, like sometimes the forest just drags you where you need to go. And
Yeah.
if the environment's good, the environment's good. Like you're good to stay there. It's so
Hmm.
cool like that.
Yeah, for sure.
It always provide. But yeah, what's the next like show thing that you're looking forward to? Or even DJ event?
So DJ event this Saturday, in 2 days, we're doing another rooftop party for our buddy Ron, who's in the chat. I think he's still in the chat. It's his birth. Well, it was his
Rondre?
birthday yesterday, and so it's his birthday party. Rooftop rave. We call it rave. We call it rave the roof.
Nice. I
Yeah.
like it.
So yeah.
That's
So we're
Rondre?
What's that?
That's Rondre in chat?
Yeah, Rondre.
Okay. Hey, happy birthday. I'm sure I won't see you then, but happy birthday in advance. That's awesome.
Well, his birthday was yesterday, so
Oh, okay. There you go. Happy
you're on
belated
it.
birthday.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, so that's DJ wise, like that's really the only thing I have like on the books right now, in terms of like something like things will pop up. But then because I'm relocating, I'm trying to like give myself like the time of October to like settle into new spot. You're experiencing, you know what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
Make a move.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It always takes like it took like at least a month and a half just to get situated in the new place. Like
yeah,
every weekend's a new project, putting stuff away or getting acclimated, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely relatable.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
That's
Um,
cool, man.
yeah.
So you'll be right now. How far away are you from the city?
Depending on what time of day you leave, like if I left right now, it would take me like 40 minutes to get to the city. So it's not bad if you leave like later in the evening. But like if you leave like in the middle of the day, it could take over an hour. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little bit of a hike, especially
yeah,
if you want to go there often, for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
Cool, man. It seems like you've been, like you said, you've been doing this for a while. How did music help you? And I bring this up to like a lot of people, but I haven't brought it up in a while. But how was time for you during like COVID? Like, did music help a lot? A lot of us were. It seems like it's a few years now, and a lot has happened since then. But I
dude,
always like to
yeah,
reflect on that.
yeah, man. Like I don't know what I would have done if like this wasn't part of it. Like it was like one of the only things that like gave me like a sense of like sanity. I would like because I was living in like a kind of small apartment at the time. I would just like put on sets like on SoundCloud or whatever, and I would just like walk and walk and walk and just like bop around to the set. Or like I hated working out during COVID because I'm like, you can't go to a gym or anything. I'm like in my
Yeah.
apartment. So I would just
Yeah.
like put a set on and I would just like dance around like and act as if like I was at a show. Right. And I would just like bop around just to get like some cardio and move around and do
Yeah.
stuff like that. So yeah, man, that was it. And like, yeah, like the live streams that like artists were doing. And like, I would text with like my rave friends, like, and be like, this song, this song, this song, this song. And like, that's the way like people would still like connect and everything like that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was definitely a lifeboat during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they started doing, it was actually they started doing drive-in shows literally 5 minutes from my house here in Phoenixville.
No way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I went to two of those with my friends Monica and Vince, who were in the chat.
Nice.
But then I think Closey had a set there one day, and the clouds, it was like a little bit more overcast, and the clouds were a little bit more fuller in the sky. And so the sound was getting trapped in the clouds and coming back down into like the suburbs, right? And so
What?
all the grumpy suburbanites
Yeah.
complained, and then they shut it down after that. There was no more drive-in shows.
Somebody's always got to be hating, man. That's
I
great.
know. Yeah, can't just fucking deal with it for a couple hours.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah,
Put on some headphones and put on your own music.
I know. Right. Um,
That's crazy. Like, out of all things that would cause that to happen, it would be the elements. Like,
yeah, yeah.
it's
The
crazy.
clouds were too low, and so like it was like reverbing back down. And
Wow.
because like they didn't complain until then, it was because of that the clouds and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. I was like, I couldn't. I was like, when I first saw like the advertisements come out for it, I was like, this is 5 minutes from my house. Like, I can't believe this is happening, right?
Yeah.
And like I'd be there, and people be driving from like New York and Washington and like all these different, the metro like Northeast area. People were coming all over the place, and I'm like, I live 5 minutes from here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Was it because that you just had an area available to do that, or were you near a
yeah.
drive-in
It's
theater?
just it's a convention center. It's the Oaks Convention Center, Pennsylvania Oaks Convention Center. It's just a big ass parking lot, and they
Ah,
just
okay.
like put up this stage, and they just like let the cars be in the parking lot.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's cool. Hey, maybe they'll bring it back one day, but maybe in a different location from those grumpy
yeah,
people.
yeah.
We don't believe what's on TV. Do you know who that is by any chance?
That's my friend Avery. He
Oh,
also
okay.
DJs, and he was one of our DJs with us.
Oh, nice, nice. COVID was great with Twitch's relationship with music. Yeah, because that's how I got into DJ streaming on Twitch because I originally was doing it for gaming, and then I saw the DJs doing it. I was like, all right, let's see what kind of scene I could build.
Mm-hmm.
So similar to what you were doing with your shows. Like first you start doing it, and then eventually you want to build and get other people on board as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
watched Couchlands and so many Subtronic sets.
yeah. I remember that because they did like yeah. I remember when they replayed all of the Lost Land sets because like yeah, that was my first festival, and I remember when they played it, I was like so pumped for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and I remember they had like the EDC, stream like they did like, and they did all the different artists, and it was cool.
Yeah, very neat. I hope they keep some of that alive because like it's nice to be able to watch. Like I know Pretty Light started doing it with his tour. Like
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was gonna do maybe a select few, but he's literally been doing almost every weekend with his tour.
Yeah,
Um, and I hope some artists continue doing that because I mean I would love to go to every show, but sometimes you just can't afford it or can't afford make the time to
yeah,
travel. But
yeah,
yeah, it's very
yeah,
cool to see that. It was
for
very
sure.
cool to see in person stuff and digital stuff come together and complement each other well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And also like in terms of like building like an inclusive music culture of like everything from like thinking about the socioeconomics of it, of like, some people can't afford to go to like a bunch of shows that they want to go to, right? Like I'm fortunate, to be in a position where I can, if I want to go to a show, I can put it in my budget and figure it
Mm-hmm.
out. Or if I want to go to a festival, right? Um, Not always true. And also in terms of like, people with disabilities and stuff that may not be able to, handle the sensory of, a live show, but like they still want to like listen to music and see it going on and stuff like that. I've always thought about like how sick would it be to like um do like a IMAX theater with an artist, and like they put their visuals on screen, and then they just like put, and like everyone's just like sitting
Yeah.
in an IMAX theater and just
Yeah.
like put or something like that, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Go
Well, I guess
widescreen
like
like
kind of
that.
like Odessa kind of just did that with, the movie that they put out. It's kind of
Yeah.
like the loud
Yeah.
recording. Yeah.
That's right. I wonder, is that still playing? I would love to go see that.
I think they just had like select theaters. Like they did like limited release. They only played a few
Oh,
theaters at certain times.
gotcha.
So yeah,
Gotcha. Okay. Good to know. Maybe it'll be
yeah,
on Netflix one day.
yeah. I
But
hope they put it out somewhere. I'm sure they'll put it out somewhere someday.
yeah, definitely. Going back to, you mentioned inclusive music scene. Is there anything that you would like to see like change, or any type of growth that to occur to improve the inclusivity in the music scene?
Um, yeah, like the word like inclusive, can be like depending on like how we're looking at it, right? I think relatively it's a inclusive scene.
Mm-hmm.
They do a good job in terms of like places and communities that you'll find. If you see a lot of people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different sexualities, different gender expressions, um, which is really cool to see. Um, I think like in terms of like artist, I think seeing some sort of like united front on an artist. I'm just like thinking about, outside the box in terms of like labor relations in the music scene that are definitely problematic. And I try to listen to guys who are a little bit more in it. Like I'm in no way like consider myself like a professional DJ or any sort of, right.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just
Yeah.
like doing it. But you see a lot of like issues that, artists are kind of getting screwed on like deals with promotions, and they're being left with, the prices of flights and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
there's unfortunate just like how the economic system of what we live in, like there's the bookings for festivals, people like Millennium, Excision get paid like humongous amounts of money, and then like the other people on the lineup, right? They're not really getting paid enough to like be able to support themselves, and sometimes they can't even not even get enough money to afford traveling to that festival. And
Mm-hmm.
it's all the artists that make a festival, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the headliners sell a lot of tickets and stuff like that, but like the full experience of a festival requires that huge lineup, which requires all those different artists, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what like really differentiates it from just going to see one of those artists in concert, right? So I think it'd be cool to see like, on the music end of things, kind of like this, the actors, like they have a union. Like if there would ever be like a music union amongst like DJs, and how that would look to get some like collective like power and have some balance, and so the scene can kind of just grow in a more inclusive way in terms of like economically. And then it opens up more doors for people who aren't from some advantaged socioeconomic backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
like um like I'm privileged, like the fact that like I have a good job, and
Mm-hmm.
like I can afford to put money into this side hobby, right? And I'm able
Yep.
to, do those types of things where I'm like, there's a lot of artists out there who are kind of like capped by like their financial situation, right? And so I think like that would be cool to see. I don't know how if that will ever happen,
Mm-hmm.
but I always think about that in terms of like, because you're kind of seeing it in some places, because the rave scene's about to pop off. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
just the beginning. This is
Mm-hmm.
just the beginning, and like that's
Like,
like there's so many young Gen Z. Like there's
yeah,
so many young people in this scene, and so the sharks are coming. Like,
yeah,
and that's the unfortunate situation of living in like a capitalist society that business works in this manner. It's oriented in this way. So building the infrastructure within the community to be able to withstand the sharks and people coming in and try and take advantage and just kind of like turning it into a top 40 bullshit pop music, and just trying to milk every ounce of money they
yeah,
can get out of it.
yeah. Definitely, definitely. And like I feel with it hits in like bursts and waves. Like with you and I coming into the scene, we were hitting like a peak, and then it was like right before and right during COVID, it kind of died down. But then once things opened up, it really exploded again. And like I personally couldn't think of how Electric Forest could get any better. I've been there every year since 2015, excluding the shutdown. And right before the shutdown, I was like, it's gotten good, but like, how could they improve on it? And then they just
Yeah.
come out, out swinging and just find ways to make it better. So like, I mentioned in Raleigh and Charlotte that, the scene's younger, but it's because we're right about to pop off again. We're about to get that next wave coming in who are
Yeah.
gonna take it forward, and that's why you mentioned, you brought up a great point with it being more inclusive in terms of spreading the finances across the board, is because you got to eventually, if you want the scene to stay alive, you got to pass it down to those below us. Like
Yeah.
at some point we'll, I don't say we'll no longer be in it, but we'll expect others, or have the intent for others who are younger than us, to keep things running.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that makes me think about. I'd also like to see a bit more of like history of electronic dance music being like understood throughout the like community. Like for me, it took a minute for me to learn like understanding that like where house music and like techno come from, like and like understanding like the connections of like the disco era of like there were that famous event of like at the Chicago White Sox game, they burned all the disco records, like their disco's
Yeah,
dead,
yeah.
right? Like that was like a really like disrespectful moment, and like there was like this kind of like this moment of like, because like disco was associated with black people and being gay,
Hmm.
right? And like the roots of house music are in like coming from disco. It's like that
Oh,
same, it's
yep,
that same beat and stuff like that, right? And
yep.
there was like a very intentional movement to kind of like crush that music, you know, and like replace it with fucking rock and roll. Like even though rock and roll
Hmm.
was also invented by a black man, but
Hmm.
um, now that it's been like revived and like it was minority, marginalized communities of people that kind of like kept it alive, right? During, those times, and like it's evolved from there. And now that it has popularity, right? The majority of, artists you see up there are like, white dudes, and like that's not to be like to discount someone's artistic ability just because of their, I'm not like trying to be like Mr. Identity Politics or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just like, understanding that we stand on the shoulders of giants, right?
Hmm.
And like I feel like that should be more at the forefront of the scene, and artists being more aware of, they really do stand on the shoulders of giants, that of like people that came before them, and this opportunity is here for you because of that. And so respecting that in whatever way, and using it as a way to continue to bring up people from, marginalized communities and lesser identities that really drive this and show that their musical innovation deserves the same platform as anyone else, just
Hmm.
because they have like a big following, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, yeah. Well said. I don't even know if I could add much to that. That was great. But yeah, just
mhm.
finding ways to get it to people who are, I don't want to say less fortunate because they're just as fortunate, but they just don't have much financially at the time, you know, and find
Yeah.
more ways for people to grow, um, to get more opportunities financially and socioeconomically. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, we are hitting the 10 o'clock hour, but so I do
Cool,
want to
man.
kind of wrap it up. But time flies when you're having fun. I do want
Yeah,
to
man.
touch a
This was
little.
awesome.
Yeah, without a doubt, a great discussion all around. So I did want to rave. Actually, we'll read chats real quick and then we'll wrap it up. But I do want to touch on like some wellness stuff because I know you do that during your day job too.
Yeah.
But let's
Yeah.
catch up on chats real quick. Um, let's see. I have a space set. Saw the desert. Judy says she saw the desert movie last month and made her entire theater cry.
Oh,
Can I play Starfield during your space set? Are you a gamer at all?
not really.
Okay.
Me and my girlfriend started playing Switch games, so I'm starting to get
Nice.
back into it.
That's good. Switch is fun. If you ever get a chance to play the Zelda game, like that would be the one game I recommend.
She is playing not the new one that just came out, but the one prior to it, the open world
Um,
Zelda game,
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild. That's what my
Yeah,
girlfriend's playing right now.
put way too many hours into it.
Yeah.
It's worth it. They did a really good job on that. What else? Bianca says that's why I love small festivals. It's all about the smaller regional talent. Yeah, and that's what's kind of like Big Dub is about too. It
Mhm.
you know, it started off very small, and yeah, of course it grew, and they have a main stage now and stuff like that. But it's still very grassroots and very inclusive. It was like I enjoyed the last year that I went in 20, not this year, 2022. Like I stayed almost all weekend at Hemlock just because I wanted to be around like all my friends who were DJing, and a lot of people still came by and visited throughout the day. So I
Yeah.
very rarely went to other stages. And
Yeah.
no offense to other stages, I'm sure they did great, but I was just kind of glued to being in that environment. So
Hmm. Yeah. Shout out to Bianca. She's part of a music collective called Solar Sounds, and
okay,
they do a fantastic job of like just doing things the right way, of like being inclusive, and like they do events and they raise money for like local charities and stuff like that. Like they're awesome. You and
awesome.
Bianca and Solar Sounds. Yeah.
Glad to hear. Yeah, if you ever want to link up and collab or even come on the stream and chat about what you do, feel free. I've
Yeah, I
also
would highly suggest
okay.
getting them on. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have any artists as well, I haven't done this in a while, but I feel like I'm due for it. I want to do like a 1 day online festival. I did one a couple years ago called Revolve, and we did like 50-50 split. So of any donation subs, 50% went to the artist, 50% went to um, the foundation that I forget what the name of the foundation was, but we gave 50% to that charity. So it was a very cool festival. Gave everybody a chance to be, to shine their talents. And in the start of it, we had like a wellness segment. In the middle of it, we had my chiropractor on do like a little mobility workshop, and at the end, we did an out closing wellness segment. So yeah, I would love to link up and maybe get something in the works. Um, very very cool, and love to hear more about your collective as well. So. Rondre says, I also feel like the scene is more accepting. Remember being in high school and it was weird, like techno EDM. Yeah. Like I was that, I remember in high school, like I first picked up a TSO album and I didn't know much about him, but like I thought I was still like in a Warp Tour back in the day, but it was something that always intrigued me and it finally grew. And being more inclusive too is like, um, is now that the fact that like dub fans and house heads are all like combining, like
Yeah. Yeah.
Electric Forest, like I group camp with bunch of people who are like Judy and uh
Armando.
Armando, yeah,
Yeah.
and Pat, and like
Yeah.
they love house too, but they're mostly dub heads, and nothing wrong with
Dubstep.
that. Yeah, I get my dose in too, you know, like I have my phases where I like to dive into it. So it's very cool seeing like the respect that people have for each other for their different tastes in music.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I agree.
Rondre also said rave clubbing is a big business now. That's why Easy had so many problems. Yeah, I heard about that. They canceled the first entire day because the stage wasn't put together.
Dude, it was way worse than that. They like oversold it by like 7,000 people, and like they turning people away on Sunday, and people started rushing the gate, and like there was like a will call line was like 4 hours long, like just on every level.
Wow.
Terrible. Terrible. But
Wow.
it's, yeah, it's like that. They're just trying to make just juice as much money as they can out of it without giving a shit about the experience or people at the end of the day.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so sad because that is actually my first festival I ever went to. Well, yeah, first festival I
Well,
ever
it's
went to.
because they just sold it to people who own Brooklyn Mirage, right? So it's
Uh,
new owners, and there's been a lot of problems with the Brooklyn Mirage overselling. So they've been supposedly like there was someone did like a breakdown of they've been overselling by like 33% some shows, like a third more people than should total the max capacity. And like
wow.
there's been like issues like multiple people getting kidnapped and going missing afterwards. Like it's just been a disaster. And
Wow.
whatever that investor group is no good. No gusto.
Yeah. No gusto. Which is a shame because Mirage looks pretty lit, like with the new visuals that they have in the
Yeah.
back and how it's super widescreen. That's almost like an IMAX theater in itself. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
really wanted to see that succeed, but
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Avant Gardner, they're the ones who own it.
Ah, okay. Judy,
Yeah.
you went to Izu? That's
And
sad.
I think she went for a couple days or maybe just
Dang.
one day.
Yeah, I'm glad I left that in the past. So, dang. But I do want to wrap this up. So I will leave a few questions, but I do want to hop into some wellness. So
And
how does music and wellness? How do you incorporate wellness in your life? And has music helped define your wellness practice and raving and going to shows as well?
yeah. So like my connection to it is that like when I was at my first Lost Lands, like it was such it was a cathartic experience in that like I cried multiple times during that weekend because there was just like years of I remember telling you like I was like kind of like that aggressive person, like that boom, 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 right? I was like a football player, like boom, bam, 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 like moving my body in that like aggressive manner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I kind of was like, stagnant for a bunch of years and just feeling very stuck. And having that experience of, being with all these people connected at the same time, moving to the same beat and like, dubstep. So people like head banging and like really like moving. And that
Mm-hmm.
like experience of just like letting it just like I've released so much from my soul, my body, my mind. Like it just created so much movement for me, and on every type of level, mentally, physically, spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
So that really, opened up my, aspirations towards like connecting because I just started grad school to go back to school and switch careers and become a therapist. Um, And so it was there. I'm like, I got to find a way to mesh these.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still figuring out how I want that to look. Um, but in terms of just like connecting, because music has this ability to connect people. In this, it's a different type of language, right? It can connect people who don't like at festivals. You could be standing next to someone who doesn't speak the same language as you, right? And you're both like together, and you're both in sync in that moment, right? And so there's just that level that's able to be accessed that I think music opens us up to, that I think is super powerful. So I always try to like encourage. Always one of the first questions I ask someone if like they come in for a client intake, I ask them like what their favorite music is, right? So I always like try to like figure out what they're into. Whenever someone tells me EDM, it's like it's the
Yeah,
best. Yeah, the
yeah.
best.
We're
Yeah.
gonna have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Definitely.
but just like how I can incorporate that into like my own wellness. For me, it just provided a community. Like, I think wellness is so much more than just individual wellness.
Hmm.
It's it provided the space. Like, why I was so like college is such a great time for so many people is because it's like the only time in your life where everything is like in the same walking space community, and you have all your friends, you feel connected, right? And then like we go into these like worlds and we're very isolated in our jobs and our cubicles and other things. It's hard to meet people and connect with people and find people that you enjoy. And the electronic dance music community brought that back into my life for the first time since college. And I
Hmm.
was just like, so I've met my girlfriend through it. I've made my best fucking friends, everyone who's in this chat, like some of my best friends through this place, right? And in terms of like wellness, like what's better than that, than like having like collective community and people to lean on and people to support and love, that like
Hmm.
give you a reason to live, right? And like having that feeling of people who give a shit about you makes it so much easier to take care of yourself, right?
Hmm.
It gives you a reason to hold on. Like that's why I say like I was like super fucking depressed, man. Like I would never kill myself, but I was in moments of like, I don't care if that truck flips over on the other side of the highway and takes me out. Like it was like that level of like kind of indifferent to death,
Yeah.
right? And like,
Yeah.
this gave me something to like, I don't want to die now because I want more moments with these people doing this, and they're a reason why I want to hold on, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I connect it in terms of wellness. It gives me a reason to like take care of my body because I want to show up for these people because I know people love me and like I want to be able to love them. Um, and I know these types of experiences are possible, and I want to like help create more spaces for people to have those types of experiences too.
Yeah.
Right?
Well
So,
said, man. Well said.
yeah,
Thanks for sharing.
yeah, for
And it's
sure.
like that's why you like you said, that's why you want to take care of your body. That's why you want to do the good shit so that way you can do the bad shit too and balance
Yeah,
it all out.
yeah,
You do too much of one or the other. Do too much good shit, then you get bored and then you want to go do bad shit. But then you do too much
yeah,
bad shit, you're like, oh, I don't feel good all the time.
yeah,
Then you got to balance it
yeah,
out.
yeah.
So yeah.
Everything in moderation, including moderation.
Yeah. Preach to that. Preach to that.
Yeah.
So in regards to like keeping up with doing the good shit, do you have like a daily routine that you follow?
Um, I am not too hot with the daily routine currently. I try to, at the best I can, try to just. So I come from like a background of like being in the gym for like 2.5 hours a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I associated working out, exercising with 2.5 hours in the gym and doing like 12 different exercises, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it took me a really long time to be like, I don't have 2.5 hours a day to work out, to kind of like change my relationship to, the physical aspect of like taking care of myself.
Yeah.
Um, so kind of like letting go of that and changing my relationship, just like if I can just move my body for like 20 to 30 minutes, like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so in terms of like the physical end of things, like that's what I try to do. I started getting back into playing basketball. Like I just go to the gym and I just like shoot basketball. Like because
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, because I hate running and just being like, I'm running. But like if
Yeah.
I have something to like do, and it's also like working hand-eye coordination and just like moving, and it's got the cardio and just like a bunch of different elements to it. It's like
Mm-hmm.
dancey at the same time. Um, so just doing things like that.
And that 2.5 hours probably came from like football all the time because
Yeah.
they would
Oh yeah.
always be like after I played football, high school, and always after practice or even during the summer, they want you in the gym, want you in the gym. So like you would
Yeah.
always be getting those lengthy workouts in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I always try to do that right now because I'm like my job currently, I'm an independent contractor. So like I
Mm-hmm.
don't have like I see clients from 9 to 5. I, book clients based around like what works for our schedule. So right now I'm a little inconsistent. I'm going to be eventually running my own mental health group. which will be like consistent, like this hour to this hour, these days a week. And so, and also be moving, and I'll be able to like get settled in, and I'll be able to like develop um, a kind of like structure to like what I want to do then. But,
Mm-hmm.
I just try to keep it to like, moving my body intentionally, staying in contact with friends. I try to journal at least every day. Like that's like type of my like just write out whatever feeling I have that's going on, that's thought in my mind, and then like write out like things to do for the day. I
Awesome.
try not to make it too. So I try to tell people, I'm like, if we make like our goals of like what's going to be my daily routine, if we make it like too big,
Mm-hmm.
then like people like give up. It's like just make it like small things, and like I can do this here, and like at least if you don't feel like you had a good day, you can at least look back and be like, okay, I did these like 2 to 3 things well, and those are victories.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Start small for sure and work out for
yeah,
there. Definitely. And I always forget that like environment and like having a friends group is so great for your health too. Because like you say, you could only focus on like physical health or mental health, and those are great too. But like if you don't have anybody to talk to or anybody to connect with, like we're human beings. We love to be connected to others. So
yeah,
that's definitely big.
yeah,
Definitely
yeah,
big factor in wellness. So.
yeah. And I would say like in terms of like what I see from clients in terms of like as a therapist, biggest pain points, I would say that the two biggest things could save change people's lives is one, sometimes people just need more money, and two, friends and family that love them and like can actually like understand them and support them.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's really like would solve so many fucking issues that like people come to therapy for.
Mm-hmm.
It really is just like genuine connection and defensive love, and like not being super stressed out over like, am I going to be able to pay rent? That really
Yeah.
would solve so much of people's mental
Is
stresses.
that what you see a lot of with your work?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't like reduce it to that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But like I always see like things would be like being able to address the real issue that's coming up, like the, whatever the symptom that's manifesting, would be so much easier to get a handle on if we had these like two, like having material resources and people who give a shit about you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is, it,
Yep.
that's what people need.
Yep. Definitely. Very cool. Very cool. Well,
Yeah.
Zach, man, I think we're wrap it up. But before, actually, two things before we do that. One, if you once you get your clientele up and going, you start getting more routine. If there's any topics that you would like to share to the collective on stream, we could always do have another discussion, wellness discussion, bring up specific topics that you think you'd want like the general viewers or people to see and talk about, and we can narrow it maybe more on specific topics. I know this is kind of a generalized like DJ, rave, festival slash
For
wellness
sure.
chat, but if you ever want to do that, the door is always open.
Yeah,
So
absolutely, man. That'd be awesome.
cool. And then,
Cool.
before we end up or before we close up, do you have any questions for me or anything you want to say to the crowd watching?
Do you produce?
I started getting into it.
Okay.
I have this dog called Bitwig, and
Okay.
it was made from the people who used to work at Ableton. Then they left Ableton, had their own opinions on things. I personally like the flow of it better. I'm just not a great producer yet. I like the flow of it better, and the cost is way cheaper. So
Gotcha.
that's why I prefer it. But you'll see
Cool.
there's a lot of elements from Ableton in Bitwig, which is cool.
Gotcha.
So long story short, yes, I do. I just I'm very new to it still. So
Gotcha. Yeah.
yep.
I've had Ableton for like over a year now, and just being able to, it's a lot, and just like be able to find like the mental energy because there's just been like so much going on. But I'm
Yeah.
hoping to like slowly start to, once I get settled in with like my new job routine and everything, like trying to like build that in.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also like when I get opportunities for DJing, I'm like, shit, because now I
Yeah,
can't,
it's yeah,
it's like producer DJ,
yeah, yeah.
which skill do I want to build more of? So at some point, I'm looking at gigs in October, and then at some point I'm gonna be like, all right, I need to like say no to gigs and just
Yeah.
work on music, and then I could maybe go play a show with actual music. So
I
yeah.
feel that, man. I feel
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
The creative struggle,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
also like wanting to maintain a social life and like, well,
Yeah.
actually, I kind of want to do like just like non-music related things sometimes, like and just spend the weekend just hanging out with friends doing random stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Just let loose.
yeah, exactly.
So,
Cool,
well,
man.
cool, man.
But yo, this was awesome. I appreciate you bringing me on.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for
Yeah,
hopping on. Thanks for taking time to create the set. And
man.
yeah, really looking to connect with you in the future. I went ahead and dropped your link in chat. So if anybody of those, any of you in chat that don't follow him yet, which I'm sure most of you do, but if you don't, feel free to drop a follow on his Instagram and follow more about him there. And yeah, dude, this is great. Thank you again.
Cool.
Hopefully we get to meet in person soon for a show.
Yeah,
And
man.
if you're ever out in the Raleigh or Charlotte area, you're more than welcome to come visit. So
Definitely, man. If you come to Hijinks, let us know.
yes. What time of the year is
Sure.
it usually?
It's a New Year's weekend, so it'll be December 30th,
Oh, it's on New
30th.
Year's. There it is.
December 29th and 30th.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I don't have any New Year
Nice
plans, so
show.
we'll keep that in mind.
All
Cool.
right. Cool, man.
All right, Zach. Thanks again,
All right.
and
You
have
got
a
it.
great rest of your weekend.
Yeah. See you later, dude.
Later.